What makes this story emotional is not the silence itself, but the truth hidden underneath it. This person is not trying to erase you from their life or pretend the connection means nothing. In reality, they are struggling because your presence has awakened feelings they thought they had permanently buried beneath responsibility, routine, and emotional caution. Being around you forces them to confront parts of themselves they avoided for years, including the hope that love might still exist in a healthier, more honest form than what they experienced before. That hope is both comforting and terrifying to them at the same time. They are standing emotionally between two instincts, the desire to protect themselves from pain and the growing realization that pushing you away may eventually become its own form of regret. While you continue moving through your life unaware of the full weight they carry, they are quietly trying to understand whether they are strong enough to stop running from what they feel. The distance between you is not empty. It is filled with unsent messages, unfinished thoughts, moments of hesitation, and emotions that continue growing despite every attempt to suppress them. Somewhere deep inside, they know silence cannot last forever. Eventually, the truth they have been protecting will demand to be spoken openly, because feelings this strong rarely disappear simply because they are hidden. And when that moment finally arrives, the conversation will not be about dramatic confessions or impossible promises. It will simply be about honesty, two people standing face to face without fear, finally allowing themselves to acknowledge what has been quietly building between them all along. They're scared of letting you see how fragile they truly are. They're scared that if you find out what they've been hiding, you'll walk away. And yet, the irony is cruel. They distance themselves because they fear losing you. They refuse to show up because they don't want to break down in front of you. They're carrying guilt, regret, and a truth so heavy, it makes their hands shake every time they hover over your name. Now let me pull you deeper, because the third paragraph holds the twist that will shake your heart. The real reason they're staying away is because someone around them, someone you don't even suspect, has whispered something poisonous into their ears. Someone told them that being close to you would ruin things for you, not them. Someone fed them a fear that being in your life would drag you into a chaos you don't deserve. So they stepped back to protect you, thinking distance was the safer option, even though it breaks them every single day. They watch you more than you know, indirectly, quietly, secretly, because even silence can't break the bond they feel. But they believe they are shielding you from a storm they're carrying inside their chest, a storm they think will destroy everything you've ever dreamed of. Listen carefully now, because this fourth paragraph carries their confession without them ever speaking it. They think you are too pure for the weight they hold, too destined for greatness to be touched by the darkness they fear might spill out if they come close. They've convinced themselves that you deserve someone with clean hands, calm emotions, and a simple life, while they feel like a walking thunderstorm hiding behind a smile. But what they don't understand is that your soul has already sensed their struggle. That's why you're here. That's why you're listening. That's why something inside you refuses to let go of them. You feel a pull, because your story with them is not over. It hasn't even begun in the way fate intended. And the truth? They're not avoiding you because they don't care. They're avoiding you because they care too much, more than they ever expected to, more than they ever prepared for. And now the final paragraph of part 1, the moment where everything sharpens and the air around you thickens. The universe has been pushing them toward a breaking point, and soon, very soon, they won't be able to hold it in anymore. The truth they've hidden, the reason they've stepped back, the fear that has made them disappear. It's reaching a point where silence is becoming unbearable for them. Something in their life is collapsing, something they thought they could manage alone, and that collapse is slowly dragging them back toward you. They are realizing that staying away is hurting them more than anything they're afraid of. Fate is cornering them, forcing them to confront what they feel for you, forcing them to reveal why they vanished, why they pulled back, why they've been watching you from a distance, like someone guarding a treasure they don't believe they deserve. Get ready, because what they're about to reveal will be something you never expected, something that will make every moment of confusion suddenly make sense. My beloved child, before you take another breath, understand this. Your presence here right now is not an accident. The moment you continued to part two, a new door opened in the unseen, a door that leads straight into the truth this person has been terrified to face. They love you deeply, so deeply that every step they take away from you feels like walking barefoot on broken glass. And yet, they're still staying away because something inside them is collapsing, something they've hidden even from themselves. Their silence is not rejection, it's a shield. They're protecting you from a storm they fear will swallow both of you, and they believe stepping back is the only way to keep you safe. But fate has a strange way of pulling two souls back together, especially when the connection is written into the bones of destiny. Hold on, because the second paragraph brings something heavier. This person has been carrying a secret that keeps them awake at night, a guilt tied to a decision they made long before you came into their life. Someone in their circle knows about their love for you and has threatened to expose something from their past if they move any closer. That's why they freeze every time they think of reaching out. That's why their fingers tremble over their phone screen. They didn't choose distance, they were pushed into it. Someone is monitoring their every move, someone who doesn't want them anywhere near you. And yet, despite all the pressure, they still find ways to check on you. A silent scroll through your posts, rereading old messages, replaying your voice in their head, like a prayer they're too scared to whisper into the world. Stay with me now, don't blink, because the third paragraph carries the twist that explains everything. This person believes that you are stepping into a big breakthrough in your life, something powerful, something life-changing, and they fear that their presence will delay your blessings. They feel unworthy of your love, unworthy of your light, unworthy of the future they see for you. Their absence is not a sign of losing interest, it's a sign of panic. They're terrified that their flaws, their past mistakes, or their unresolved pain will dim your glow. But what they don't understand is that you were never meant to shine alone. Their soul was designed to stand beside yours, not behind, not distant, not hidden in the shadows. And the moment they realize this, everything they've been running from will come rushing back to you. Now comes the fourth paragraph, the moment where destiny tightens its grip. This person is reaching a point where their silence is beginning to suffocate them. They've tried distracting themselves, tried burying their feelings, tried convincing themselves they're doing the right thing by staying away, but none of it is working anymore. The more they run, the stronger the pull becomes. Every sign, every dream, every sudden memory of you is becoming unbearable. They're starting to see flashes of you in strangers, hearing your voice in their mind when they're alone, feeling your energy at random moments of the day. The universe is cornering them, pushing them to confront what they've been hiding. And soon, they will have no choice but to come forward, no choice but to break their silence, no choice but to tell you why they vanished and what they've really been feeling all this time. As this part of the story settles, what's really unfolding isn't a guaranteed twist of fate, but a moment of emotional clarity that could arrive when the timing is right for both people involved. At some point, life has a way of bringing unfinished feelings back to the surface, not through dramatic signals, but through ordinary situations that prompt reflection and honesty. If this person does reach out again, it will likely come from a place of inner conflict resolving, rather than any external, quote, pull. And their words may be careful, even imperfect, as they try to express what they couldn't say before. You might notice hesitation in their voice, or a softness in how they explain themselves, not because of a hidden script or destiny playing out, but because real emotions are rarely simple to articulate. After distance and uncertainty, what may have once looked like avoidance could have been their way of processing things privately, and what looks like return may simply be them finally feeling ready to be honest about what they think and feel. In moments like that, the most important shift isn't dramatic revelation, but mutual clarity, whether there is something worth rebuilding, or simply understanding what each of you needed from the experience. There's no fixed outcome written into these interactions, only the possibility of a conversation that brings closure, direction, or renewed connection, depending on how both people show up. And while emotions can feel intense and consuming, what ultimately matters is whether what's shared is grounded, respectful, and real in everyday life, not shaped by pressure or expectation. Sometimes the most meaningful turning point is simply when two people finally speak without avoidance, and let honesty replace assumption. They are staying away because they have reached a point where every emotion they've buried is resurfacing, and they're terrified that if they face you, they'll expose everything they've tried to hide. The truth is not simple, it's explosive. It's tied to their past, their fear, their insecurity, and a secret they've carried that they believe would break you if you knew it. Now listen carefully to this second paragraph, because this is where the shock begins. This person didn't choose distance. It was forced on them by something or someone that demanded their silence. There is a situation in their life, one you don't know about, one they've hidden with all their strength, that pulled them away from you. It could be a family issue, a personal crisis, a financial burden, a mental battle, or a conflict they're scared you'll judge them for. They've been living in two realities, the one where they want to run straight into your arms, and the one where they think staying away keeps you safe from the chaos they're trapped in. They're not avoiding you, they're drowning quietly, hoping you never see the darkness they're battling. The third paragraph is where the revelation deepens. This person believes that you are destined for something big, something powerful, and they feel like their presence might delay your blessings or derail your path. They think you are too precious for the life they currently have, too important for the problems they carry. They've convinced themselves that stepping back protects you from their struggles, from their emotional storms, from their fears of not being enough. But what they don't realize is that your soul was never intimidated by their scars. You were made to understand them, to help them heal, to stand with them through storms they thought they had to hide. And now, destiny is shifting the situation so that they can no longer run from what they feel for you. Hold your breath for the fourth paragraph, because this is where their emotional walls begin to crack. Recently, something reminded them of you so intensely that it shook them to their core. Maybe a dream of you, a picture they stumbled upon, a moment that felt eerily like your presence. They're realizing that no matter how far they stay, the connection keeps pulling them back, like a magnetic force that refuses to break. They've been trying to silence that feeling, but it grows louder every day. Their heart is tired of pretending. Their soul is exhausted from holding back. The distance they thought would protect you is now destroying them from the inside. And soon, they will have to make a choice: continue suffering alone, or take the risk of telling you everything. And now the fifth paragraph, the part where destiny makes its move. In the days ahead, this person will face a moment they can't run from, a realization, a confrontation, a situation that forces them to choose between fear and truth. And when that moment hits, something inside them will break open. They'll realize that staying away didn't protect you. It only created more pain for both of you. A powerful shift is coming, one that will push them to speak, to return, to reveal the reason for their silence. And when they finally come forward, it will be sudden, emotional, and nothing like what you're expecting. What they'll confess will rewrite everything you thought you knew about why they disappeared, and it will bring clarity that changes everything. My beloved child, the moment you entered part 4, the energy around you thickened, like the universe itself is holding its breath, because this is where the truth begins to crack open from the inside. The person who loves you deeply has been standing at the edge of a decision they've been avoiding for months. They're staying away not because their feelings faded, but because those feelings became too powerful, too overwhelming, too impossible to hide behind a calm face. They know that coming toward you means everything changes, your emotions, their reality, the path ahead, and they've been terrified of triggering a shift they can't control. Their silence is not coldness, it's panic, wrapped in longing. This second paragraph pulls you deeper, so listen carefully. Someone around them, someone with influence over their decisions, has been manipulating their emotions, feeding them doubt, convincing them that reaching out to you would cause damage they aren't prepared to handle. This voice in their life has been telling them that you'll judge them, that you'll walk away if you see their truth, that your life will suffer if they enter it too deeply. And because of this manipulation, they chose to hide their feelings, bury their desire, and keep their distance. But the tension is breaking now. The lies they believed are unraveling. The fog around them is lifting. And slowly, painfully, they're realizing that the person they've been listening to was never protecting them, only keeping them away from the one person who actually holds a place in their heart. Now the third paragraph unleashes the twist they've been running from. Something happened recently, something big, something emotional, that shattered their resistance. It might have been a dream that felt too real, a memory that resurfaced unexpectedly, a sign that shook them awake at the exact moment they tried to move on. They felt your energy like a sudden wave, and for the first time, they questioned why they ever stayed silent. That moment triggered something inside them, a longing so deep that it nearly brought them to your door. Their soul is remembering you, their heart is fighting every distance they created, and now they're starting to face the truth. Staying away was the biggest lie they ever told themselves. Stay with this fourth paragraph. This is the turning point. They've reached a stage where their emotions can no longer be contained. Every time they pretend they don't care, the universe sends another reminder of you. Every time they try to distract themselves, something pulls them right back to your memory. And now, their silence is beginning to feel like punishment. Not for you, but for themselves. They're tired of hiding, tired of pretending. When emotional distance lingers, the most meaningful turning points rarely arrive as dramatic events, but as quiet moments of clarity that reshape how people understand themselves and each other. Instead of sudden confrontations or overwhelming revelations, it is often a gradual softening of resistance, where what was once avoided begins to feel necessary to acknowledge. A person may find themselves reconsidering past decisions, not out of pressure, but because silence eventually becomes heavier than honesty. In that space, courage is not about rushing back into something unchanged, but about being willing to face what was felt without distortion or fear. If two people were connected in a meaningful way, any return to conversation would likely begin with simplicity rather than intensity, an honest message, a careful apology, or a willingness to listen without defensiveness. What matters most is not the performance of emotion, but the ability to communicate clearly and respectfully about what was real for each person. Sometimes clarity brings people closer, and sometimes it brings understanding without reconnection, and both outcomes carry their own form of closure. What defines maturity in these moments is the willingness to accept truth without forcing a predetermined direction. If there is to be any reconnection, it would come from mutual readiness rather than emotional urgency. And if not, The same honesty that once created distance can still create peace, allowing both individuals to move forward with less confusion and more self-awareness about what they need next in their lives over time, gently sometimes. And when they do, nothing will ever be the same again. My beloved child, the moment you stepped into part 5, destiny itself leaned closer, because this is where the truth begins to burn through every layer of silence they've wrapped themselves in. The person who loves you deeply is reaching the end of their ability to pretend. Their distance has turned into a battle they can no longer win. Every day they force themselves to stay away. Something inside them breaks a little more. They thought silence would protect you, but now they're realizing that silence is destroying them. Their soul is restless, their heart is exhausted, and the truth they've been trying to bury is starting to rise like a wave they can't stop. Their love for you is too loud to stay hidden, too intense to stay quiet, too powerful to stay controlled. This second paragraph holds what they never wanted to confess. They've been dealing with something that made them believe they weren't enough for you, an insecurity, a loss, a fear, a past that left them scarred. They didn't want you to see the version of them that cries alone at night, or fights battles no one knows about. They didn't want you to carry their weight, so they carried themselves away from you instead. But destiny is cruel to those who run from their own hearts, and now every sign is pulling them back to you. They're realizing that the person they fear disappointing is the very person who was meant to understand them. And this realization is hitting them harder than anything else. You were never going to walk away from their truth, only closer. Now comes the third paragraph, the crack in the shield they built. They've been seeing reminders of you everywhere, even in places where your presence should be impossible. A song brought back a memory they tried to bury. A dream made them wake up with your name shaking on their lips. A moment of silence made your energy feel like it was sitting right beside them. And for the first time, they stopped running. For a moment, just a moment, they allowed themselves to feel what they've been suppressing. And when they did, everything inside them screamed the same truth. Their heart belongs with you, even if their fear keeps dragging them away. They're realizing that distance didn't fix anything. It only made them miss you in ways they can't even explain. Breathe slowly for this fourth paragraph, because this is where fate starts tightening its grip. They are standing at a crossroads now. One path leads back to their comfort zone, the other back to you. And for the first time, their heart is louder than their fear. They're starting to question all the lies they believed. They're starting to see that the people who told them to stay away were protecting their own insecurities, not theirs. They're beginning to understand that the connection they share with you doesn't disappear just because they push it down. It follows them, it surrounds them, it haunts them, and every step they take away from you only makes the pull stronger. They know that a moment of truth is coming, a moment they won't be able to avoid. And now the final paragraph. The eruption destiny has been preparing. In the days ahead, something will force their hand. A sudden change, a powerful realization, a moment where they cannot hold their feelings back any longer. Their heart will push them to speak, to reveal, to admit everything they've been hiding. When they finally come toward you, it won't be with casual words or empty phrases. It will be with the weight of emotions they've carried alone, the truth they've been terrified to say, and the confession that their distance was never meant to hurt you. It was meant to protect you from a storm they thought you weren't meant to face. But fate has spoken. The time for hiding is over. They are coming closer, faster than you think, and when they reveal why they stayed away, it will shift the entire axis of your connection forever. Over time, something subtle begins to shift in the way they carry what they feel, as if holding everything alone has started to feel heavier than before. The distance that once seemed necessary starts to feel less certain, not because fear has vanished, but because it no longer feels like the only path available. Small moments begin to surface, where the idea of reaching out feels slightly less intimidating, even if hesitation is still there in the background. What once felt like protection slowly starts to resemble isolation, and that realization doesn't arrive all at once but through quiet reflection, spread across ordinary days. They revisit unfinished conversations, words left unsaid, and emotions they chose not to express in the moment. In those reflections, something begins to soften, not suddenly, but gradually, like layers loosening their grip. The possibility of being understood starts to feel less distant, even if still unfamiliar, and trust becomes something they can at least imagine rather than completely avoid. There is a growing awareness that honesty doesn't always lead to loss, but can sometimes lead to steadier ground than expected. And as that awareness grows, the walls they built don't disappear, but they begin to lose their rigidity, forming small openings where connection can enter quietly. And even though uncertainty still lingers, there is a gentle movement toward openness, where fear no longer defines every choice, and willingness begins to reshape what comes next. This second paragraph carries the storm they've been hiding. They've been battling something they never told you, an inner war that shakes their confidence every single day. They fear being vulnerable. They fear opening up and being seen in their weakest moments. They fear that once you see their truth, you'll walk away with a silent goodbye. So instead of risking heartbreak, they chose distance. But this choice has backfired. They thought staying away would make it easier. It didn't. It made it unbearable. They've been replaying every moment with you, every message, every memory, every time your eyes held something unspoken. And suddenly, all the fears they hid behind are beginning to crumble, because your absence hurts more than their fear of losing you. Recently, something shifted inside them, so suddenly that it became impossible to ignore what they have been trying to bury for so long. Maybe it was a dream that felt too real, where they watched you slipping further away while they stood there unable to stop it. Maybe it was hearing your name unexpectedly, revisiting an old memory, or experiencing one quiet moment that forced them to confront how empty life has felt without your presence in it. Whatever triggered it, the impact stayed with them long after the moment passed. It unsettled them in ways they weren't prepared for, pulling emotions to the surface they had spent so much time trying to control. For the first time, they stopped pretending distance was making things easier. Instead, they realized it was only making the ache heavier. The truth hit them hard. They don't know how to move forward while constantly carrying the weight of missing you. And once that realization settled in, the regret followed close behind. They started replaying conversations in their mind, wondering how things might have changed if they had simply been honest sooner. More than once, they found themselves staring at your name, tempted to reach out just to hear your voice again, or break the silence that has stretched too long between you. Messages were typed, rewritten, and deleted before ever being sent. Not because the feelings disappeared, but because the intensity of them frightened them. What they feel has become impossible to reduce into casual words or small talk. And now, they're beginning to understand something painful but undeniable. Staying silent may have hurt you, but carrying this distance every day has been quietly breaking them apart too.